in the fourth quarter. Let's hear from Frank Vogel speak with Mike Trudell and the media.
Hey, Frank, you had a 9-point lead with about a minute left in this third quarter. Just wondered what you saw from that point on, if things changed and something stood out specifically.
Yeah, well, we didn't finish quarters well the whole night. I think they closed the gap at the end of the third. And then, obviously we gave up a 38-point fourth quarter. So if you do that, you're going to lose most nights. Defense just not on a string yet. I thought we did a good job being up on Steph. But, the backside was much better in the first half than the second half.
Hey, Frank. This was about as good of a game collectively as you're going to get from AD and LeBron. They combined for 67. You had mentioned them kind of shouldering some of that burden early on in the season. What did you see from them? And then no one else had double figures. And kind of what did you see from everybody else offensively?
Yeah, those two guys were spectacular. Obviously, big nights from both of them. We're going to be pretty good if we get those type of performances. We just have to be better defensively and, just finish in other action, from the rest of them. But this is a team that is all new to each other, so everybody's finding their way a little bit. Each day we get a little bit better and a little bit more connected and, watch the tape and get better from it.
How did you see Russ's game, and what accounted in your mind for some of the struggles he was having to get going?
Well, him more than anybody. It's going to be an adjustment period, right? He's coming into our culture, our system. He's the new guy, and he's got to find his way, and it's difficult when you're used to being, the guy that has the ball most of the nights to be able to, play off of others like Bron and AD. So it's just a little bit different for him. He's going to be great for us, but it's going to be an adjustment period.
Frank, along those lines, how was it discouraging to see his sort of passive approach to parts of the game off the ball? Is that the line he's going to have to kind of walk this season in terms of figuring out when to kind of be himself, for lack of a better?
Yeah, no, I mean, we want him to be aggressive. That part's easy. He'll stay aggressive. He'll stay in attack mode. It's just figuring out, his teammates around him, and, that will come.
Hey, Frank, you talk about how it's going to be a learning curve of sorts for Russ. What do you think is going to be the biggest adjustment that he needs to make in order to play like he can play?
With Russ?
With Russ.
He just needs time. He just needs minutes on the floor with these guys. We didn't get a lot of it in the preseason, because we got a veteran team. And, it just needs time. The more we're on the floor together, the more we're watching film together the next day, he'll just get a little more and more comfortable.
We saw some significant minutes for Rondo tonight, and was that a scripted thing, or were you kind of looking to see what you could do with it? And what is the plan for him kind of as you move forward with this group?
Yeah, we'll see. We're depleted at the perimeter spot right now with Talon and Monk and Ellington, all those guys being out. We just signed Avery, so we'll see where he fits. And, Rogers is just somebody that I trust on the floor, to execute our system and, to play a smart game. He's really good tonight.
Hello and welcome to Access Sportsnet. Lakers, driven by your Southern California Honda dealers. I'm Chris McGee. I got Robert Horry, James Worthy, Mike Bresnahan. Allie Clifton's going to join us in a little bit. The Lakers fall in the opener again. They haven't won on opening night since 2016, back when they beat James Harden and the Rockets. They get a great offensive performance from LeBron and AD, but that's not enough. Big collapse defensively. Westbrook struggles in debut, and the Warriors win the fourth, James, 38-29. So the Lakers give up 38 in that decisive fourth quarter.
Yeah. Did a lot of it, most of it, without Curry on the floor. In fact, I thought one of the only bright spot I took from the game tonight was the job that Bazemore did. His energy on Curry from the beginning, I think, disrupted him from the beginning. But there's another guy named Poole who just, disrupted and destroyed the Lakers. Now we see, that what they've been doing in practice has nothing to do with what goes on in the game. So all that talk about preseason and stuff, they needed to be working on some stuff. And they still have some stuff to work on because they didn't look together. It didn't look like what they've been practicing on even was there defensively. Forget about the offense. Defensively, they just couldn't get the rotations right. Golden State got a ton of three-point shots. And so it's only one game. They got 81 more, but we have to judge what we saw tonight. And they got some work to do. And you know, I think it's expected. Still a lot of new faces, still a lot of new players. You know, we're not giving them a pass, but they got to work on some stuff. Golden State worked on the preseason, and they showing that it's paying off. So, yeah, they got some work to do.
James mentioned Jordan Poole. He had 20 points. He had 4 threes. Steph just 5 of 21, 2 for 8. Brez and I were talking while we were watching the game, especially with Clay missing time. Jordan Poole can be a guy that'll be mentioned early on, at least for most improved player. I mean, he is fantastic, and he came out ready to go. Rob, your take on what we saw tonight?
Well, you know, it boils down to their bench outplaying our bench. I think their bench had 50-plus points. 55 to 29. 55 to 29, and that's a huge role because if you look at our bench, you think what we have coming off Malik Monk. I know we mentioned THT and some other guys, but you got Malik Monk, you got
Kendrick Nunn out.
Kendrick Nunn's out. You got 7 out there. So there's a lot of guys on the bench that they could came out and did more. So if you watch this whole game, and I'm sitting there saying, okay, what kind of flow does the Lakers have? The flow to me just wasn't good. You know, when you have that much talent, you should use the talent appropriately. It's like, okay, who's going to go now? Am I going to go or you going to go? They look very confused on the offense. I know it's easy to say, okay, it works in practice. Practice is not the game. And that's something I've been harping on from day one, that you need to get in games against people who are playing defense differently than the way you play defense. And the way that the Warriors played tonight was awesome. And this is why they're going to be one of the best teams in the West. They moved the basketball. I mean, the ball was moving so fast that I got confused sometimes. And that's how you have to play on a team. The ball doesn't stick in anybody's hand. And you look at the Lakers, they have 2 guys that the ball sort of sticks. That's LeBron and Westbrook. And the best thing that coaches from day one ever said, you cannot outrun the basketball. And so when the basketball is moving like that, it's hard for the defense to keep up. And that's basically how the Warriors beat us, because the ball was popping tonight.
30 assists for the Warriors, 21 for the Lakers. Lakers did shoot 47% from the field. They did score 114 points. They shot 35% from 3, but defensively, Brez, the collapse, especially in that third quarter. Listen, they were up 10 with 2 minutes and 24 seconds left in that third. Golden State goes on a 24-6 run.
Yeah, you nailed it. I mean, a couple things we're going to be looking at the entire season: Laker perimeter defense and Laker chemistry on offense. First 3 quarters tonight, I thought they were good in both ends. Held Golden State to 27% from three-point range. Going into that fourth quarter, that fell apart. As you mentioned, Poole got hot, and that was that for as far as good perimeter defense. Chemistry on offense, Russ didn't fit in tonight, guys. I don't think there's any denying that. Frank Vogel did say yesterday after practice there's a lot of newness on this team. He was definitely preaching big picture patience. That was the phrase that he used. So you're going to have to give this time to kind of gel. You see the numbers right there. Obviously not the way that Russ wanted to start his homecoming with his Lakers here. But I feel like the chemistry was good on offense through 3 quarters, not necessarily involving Russ, but they were pushing the ball. They were scoring, they were hitting their threes, and that also fell apart in that fourth quarter.
Yeah, I mean, we had two players in double figures tonight.
Yeah.
I think you got to get more diversity in scoring. I think, LeBron had the ball a lot, like Rob said, and there wasn't just enough ball movement. I mean, I know we got some players out, Tucker, Nunn. But we have to become more versatile than I think we are. I mean, if we're going to depend on AD and LeBron to kind of get it done, and I know we aren't, we won't do that. It's just one game. But what we saw tonight was a snapshot of kind of, what we've known them to be. Yeah, they played good. They were up 10. the inability to hold on to that lead, the defense is what we all talk about, is what they need to hang their hats on. And, defense and the lack of ball movement, like Rob said, I mean, it cost them tonight.
You know, a lot of guys are huge on the plus minus, and we're not going to talk about Westbrook's minus, but if you look and you talk about Bazemore, you had to have guys with the energy that's going to come out and play this game defense. You know, Vogel talks about defense. Bazemore was a guy that gave him a lot of energy on defense.